This is The Boys podcast from TV Podcast Industries. We're talking about The Boys Season 2, Episode 2, Proper Preparation and Planning.
See, sometimes it's hard, Ryan, being superior to every single other person on the planet. It's isolating. And gods should not have to feel that kind of pain. Because that is what we are, Ryan. You and me. We're gods.
Welcome back, fellow boys and girls. We're on to the second episode of Season 2 of The Boys, Proper Preparation and Planning. Say that 3 times fast. I'm one of your hosts, Derek.
Hello there, fellow voiciest voits in all of Voight. I am one of your other hosts, John.
And rounding out this trio of godly podcasters, much like Homelander, I am a god among men. I am Chris.
It must be so difficult being better than every single other person in the world, Chris.
Well, cleanliness is next to godliness.
Okay.
I suppose I'm clean.
Well, we know you're.
I will clean this house today. I will clean this house today.
Luckily, during lockdown, my OCD has gone into overdrive, so everything is spotless.
Yeah.
Aside from my apparent rage and taste of milk.
Oh no, you don't want to talk about taste of milk and connecting yourself with Homelander, Chris. Definitely not after last episode.
He certainly has a milk fetish, whether it be from dairy or whether it be from female humans.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep. We talked about that a lot last time. We're not going to talk about it anymore because I can't get that image out of my head. What I do hate about COVID is that we haven't had Chris coming over to visit us and clean our house since he's cleaned his house about 4 times a day since the start of the pandemic.
Well,
we would love to have him over to
They
clean our
do
house.
say a change is as good as a holiday.
There you go, Chris. Come to our house for a holiday.
Yeah.
But we're not here to talk about cleaning or COVID or anything else. We're here to talk about The Boys. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast, do make sure you subscribe to us over on tvpodcastindustries.com. You can get all of our podcasts over there. We're currently covering Lovecraft Country as well, the horror podcast alongside the superhero podcast. We're doing an episode of each of those shows every week as we go to the end of each series. So that's lots of fun doing The Boys on one side and Lovecraft Country on the other.
A slight difference.
Just a bit.
Both homicidal.
Yes.
Both homicidal in nature.
And both very adult and both contain a lot of blood, but the similarities kind of end there.
And both very
contain
good.
potential gods or perceived gods.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe we haven't really seen the godlike creatures other than a quick glimpse in a dream in the first episode of Lovecraft Country. There you go. That's our summation of Lovecraft Country so far, but it is absolutely brilliant. If you haven't had the chance to check it out, it's up to episode 3 at the moment. Episode 4 will come out on Sunday this week. Go check it out. It's a really, really good show.
Yeah, definitely. Highly recommended.
Yes, but if you want to hear more of our summations, as Derek said, make sure you head over to tvpodcastindustry.com and subscribe to us in all good or evil, Vault or boy-related podcast catchers. Or why not head over to patreon.com/tvpodcastindustries where you can throw us $1 and help fight the soups, the scourge that is the soups, by helping us keep the lights on and the podcast going, because we are the true voice of anti-Vought, whatever. I don't know. This was a bit that was going really well and now it isn't.
You were so close, Chris. All you needed was one more word: anti-Vought sentiment. The true voice of anti-Vought sentiment. There you go.
Yes. Thank you. That is so much better. But if you want to support us, we will love and cherish you and thank you very much. But you can also support us by just leaving us a review, sharing the podcast, because sharing the podcast is also sharing the love. And why not send us some feedback on what you think of The Boys or Lovecraft Country? So head over to facebook.com/group/tvpodcastindustries where you can jump in and leave feedback for us, or go over to tvpodcastindustries.com and you can record a short snippet of yourself giving your feedback, and you'll hear your dulcet tones on our podcast. Don't want to go to the website? Why not just send us an email with your feedback? You can throw us your voice recording, or you can just, the old tickety-clack of your keyboard and send us your thoughts there to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com. I think that is enough for now.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll be going weekly on The Boys from now on. We're going to be recording our episode 3 podcast about The Boys tomorrow, Saturday, the 5th of September. So if you're in time, you can send in your feedback on the first 3 episodes and we'll discuss it on that one. And we'll discuss your thoughts on every episode for the rest of the season as well. Thanks so much for that, Chris.
No problem. But gents, I think it's about time we jump into The Boys Season 2, Episode 2, because we like tripping over our words. Proper preparation and planning.
Yeah,
Proper
absolutely.
preparation and planning.
Yes. Proper preparation and planning.
Oof, the 3 Ps.
Yes, this is an army term. So everybody that's in the army will be very unhappy with you guys for not being able to do your proper preparation. See what happens.
Proper preparation and planning.
When I try. Yes. Yep, this episode was directed by Liz Friedlander. She directed JJ, Jessica Jones, Season 2, Episode 12, Pray for Patsy. So we have talked about her on the podcast before, back in the days when we used to be Defenders TV podcast.
Yes, we still are. We're just waiting for the next Marvel TV show to come out.
Still at heart, we're Defenders TV
Winter
podcast,
Soldier and Falcon.
But
Can't wait.
I will say, Liz does like her Ps.
Yes, she does.
Pray for Patsy, and now proper preparation and planning.
There you go. Exactly.
Wow,
Exactly.
she really is into P.
Well, that could be also the writer responsible for the episode. That's Rebecca Sonnenschein. She wrote 2 episodes of Season 1 of The Boys. She wrote Episode 6 and the awesome Season 1 finale of The Boys.
Great
as well.
stuff.
So some proper credits there for this episode. John, do you want to tell us what they gave us with your synopsis for Season 2, Episode 2 of The Boys?
Sure. Starlight, Queen Maeve, and the new arrival Stormfront head off on their PR tour, Girls Get It Done. But when Queen Maeve is called away for a family emergency, Starlight begins to realise, after a conversation with Stormfront, that she needs to be less Voughty. And then the shock as A-Train makes a surprise return to the Seven during the PR junket. What exactly does he know about Starlight's involvement with Hughie and the boys? Meanwhile, back with the boys, Billy Butcher looks to find his wife Becca and get them all out of trouble with the CIA, as a lead from Mallory allows them to track down a super terrorist who has a family connection with one of the group. Elsewhere, Homelander looks to connect with his son Ryan, as he makes it clear to Becca he's going nowhere.
And he certainly makes that clear, doesn't he?
Yeah, he really does. Like, Anthony Starr, again, I love what he brings to this role. I mean, he is, Homelander is ultimately like obnoxious and repulsive, and he is so good.
Always.
With the threatening menace. Wow. You just expect red eye.
Yeah.
And then you get blowout eye from Becca.
Exactly. All the time, always scared about how he's going to destroy everybody around him. But I'm sure we'll get on to talking more about Homelander as we get through our main points of this episode. Once again, in case you haven't listened to the podcast before, the way we cover the podcast is we talk about our boys, or the protagonist moment. We talk about our Seven moment, or antagonist moment, and we talk about any other outstanding moment from the episode that we want to talk about. Each of us taking 1 point each. Chris, do you want to give us your first protagonist moment, your moment from the boys that you liked?
Sure. Boy. I'm not just riffing on the boys. No, this was the female and the boy that we finally understand, the boy that she was trying to talk about and spell out in episode 1, which is none other than her own brother, her flesh and blood. So this was really the moment, my big kind of moment. I know it encapsulates quite a lot, but we do find out that the new soup terrorist is none other than Kimiko's brother. We seen him in the first season when she was pulled away by the Shining Light Liberation Army. And they essentially once they knew that the Compound V had worked on her and she was lost to them, they had used her own brother as essentially a replacement.
Yes.
So that they had one shot left of Compound V and assumed since their genetics were quite similar, they shot him up, and he has this telekinesis power. I wasn't 100%. I hadn't seen him move other objects. He's able to push and pull.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if it's gravity or telekinesis, but it's a very completely different set of powers than what she has. Mm-hmm. She is obviously invulnerability, super strength, agility kind of thing.
Although there is a moment in the battle against each other where I think she does try and use a similar power, and they both kind of block each other until he feints and dodges what she's doing. So I'm not sure, actually. I thought there was a moment where the two of them seemed to be battling with their powers. I'm sure you're going to talk about the actual fight itself in a minute. But I did think there was a moment where it looked like they were kind of pushing force fields against each other almost. But maybe he was just holding back because it was a sister for a second. But I don't know.
Was this the bit where she jumps and she's in the air? And so there was, in this battle, which we'll get to, she jumps in the air as about to grab him, attack him. And he freezes her and kind of like catches her midair.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
They look back and forth, and a moment passes, and she's kind of not snarls. You can see the resolution in her face. She says one other thing about the Shining Light Liberation Army. He then rebuffs her and essentially says, "No, I'm not going to go with the boys. The Americans are the bad ones," and fires her off into the building. So I caught it that it was more that they had this kind of tit for tat, and then he threw her out. Right. So potentially, we'll get into it later in Chris's Corner. Her powers haven't been described well enough in this TV adaptation to say maybe they may give her some form of it, but essentially no. Right now, from what we know, I took it as they're very different power sets.
Okay.
Cool. Overall, this was really cool because what we're learning is from a multitude of things that first, the Shining Light Liberation Army is still going, and they're still in the United States. They have their own cells. So that prop costume shop, we see that the owner, who Kimiko kills viciously, which was cool,
and rips his actual head off. Yep.
Yeah. We see that essentially he has the big tattoo, and that it's a front because we see bomb making equipment. We were kind of led to believe that they were just a cell originally from season 1, but it seems they're kind of quite bigger. We do see that they're more resolved now because what I assume is Homelander invaded their town again. The flying one with burning eyes. They decide not. We don't actually say burning eyes. I think it's someone swooped in and was flying over the village, and then also someone kind of said is ripped an old lady in half.
Mouse describes it as that he ripped an old woman in half, that he destroyed a school where the children were screaming and didn't relent to their calls. It sounds like it's Homelander, definitely. We don't know many other soups with flight, but again, could have been anybody that we haven't met yet that could have caused it. But it sounds like this is Homelander because remember, in season 1, he did leave the US, destroyed an entire village, and came back and just to kind of vent his rage, basically, that he couldn't do this kind of stuff because he wasn't in the army, was the way that it was kind of seen. So very likely that it's Homelander.
Or it could be Black Noir. So we know that he is doing activities already from episode 1 for the US, which would be against soup terrorists.
Yeah.
So this could be... and we definitely know he has no qualms with killing.
Yeah.
So it's just the child bit threw me. That's where I'm leaning more towards Homelander. The fact that Mouse mentions the school and the kids, and we see from episode 1 that Black Noir doesn't kill the child.
Yeah. But I also think the idea that the village has been burnt down is exactly what Mouse says So that seems more Homelander-y.
Yes, exactly.
And Black Noir was on a specific mission there. It sounds like Homelander again was taking out his rage on a foreign city, basically. But also, as we said in the costume shop, there is the massive fight where we learn all about the boy's powers. Did anybody else get a vision of like playing Pictionary or Cranium, where you can't use a certain word and you have to describe it? That's what's going on with Kimiko when she's trying to go. Okay, can't say brother. Have only a limited amount of words, so use boy, girl, boy. It's like she's completely right. If I'm a girl and another word for girl is sister, so the word for boy is brother. She's trying to get there.
Well, I wouldn't mind. It's really funny because the Shining Light guy who got his head taken off, I didn't realize that was a tattoo. I assumed he was wearing a T-shirt, like it was branding or something like that. So I was kind of like going, how stupid is that? So that they recognize it. They've got their logo effectively. I suppose it is a bit like the all bad supervillains. They have their logo, but I kind of thought it was a T-shirt.
It's like Hydra and Shield.
Yeah, exactly.
Always be branded.
I was like, okay, now they know it's the Shining Light Liberation Army. Yeah, I loved this. I loved that it was her brother. I thought that was a nice little throwback because we saw the flashback, didn't we, in season 1?
Yeah.
And I just thought it was still kind of bang on point for Billy Butcher to still try to kill him, even though he was being warned that it was Kimiko's brother by Hughie. I just thought that was so on point for Billy Butcher. Dare I say it?
But you don't
what
dare
a
say it,
nightmare.
John,
No, exactly. What a nightmare.
Well, it is totally par for course for Billy Butcher. Anybody with V in their system is considered an enemy of Billy Butcher. That's as simple as it is. But also we know there are other reasons why he was going to kill
exactly.
this guy,
He's got reasons for it, for sure.
But even throughout season 1, he was going to kill the female the whole way through. She had to be protected by Frenchie, by Mother's Milk, by Hughie, because Butcher just couldn't get past the fact this person is exactly like the bad guys that I've been trying to kill with every ounce of my being. So totally expected that he was still going to pull the trigger. Luckily, Hughie stood in the way. But yeah, another little wrinkle in their relationship again. I don't think they're making up anytime soon. Billy and Hughie, I don't think they're going to get back together anytime soon. They seem to be constantly distancing themselves from each other. But yeah.
Well, absolutely. That's kind of that's a rift from the end of season 1, that finale where Billy just leaves them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and 100%. I think by the end of this boy piece, we do see they've captured Mouse. Which is a bit weird. They've knocked him out. So basically what we see is the female kind of chokeholds him to unconsciousness. Then they duct tape his hands and throw him in the back of a van. I was like, can you not like sedate him a bit? And just like a bit more than just, here's a bit of duct tape. He can't use his hands. His one weakness. I'm like, you're putting him in a moving vehicle. People I'm pretty sure this is dangerous. But anyway, they capture him and we're going to see where that leads to. But you're right. The rift that grows literally in these few scenes is huge and is going to have knock-on effects for the whole series.
Absolutely.
Especially with how it leaves the boys as a team.
Exactly, Chris. Yeah. It is the female's chokehold,
Yes.
So maybe she knocks him out for a couple of weeks with her particular method, because it was quite cool actually. But after that fight, it was cool.
Yeah, and I'm just worried to see. It's interesting to see where this goes, especially from that relationship part, not in her relationship to the boys, but more just the relationship now with her soon to be very estranged brother.
Maybe.
Yeah, definitely.
But so that's kind of my big boy protagonist moment. Essentially, that it was a great fight scene that we saw. Very small, few seconds of the power sets. I enjoyed both of them. You can see that they're not scrimping on the powers, which is good, especially when you kind of have this, but it doesn't need to be over the top constant usage. It was just a very, the destruction scene in the costume shop was brilliant. And then throwing the female up and into a random building, I was like, that looked good.
It's great.
Like, you
CGI
could have
work.
easily done that off screen.
Definitely.
But they just did a very small bit, and I was like, nice.
I'm surprised any of the boys survived being covered with all those cabinets and the rigging. I was like, they came out of that pretty well, to be honest.
They certainly did. The costumes are very soft. That was what it was.
That's exactly where I was thinking.
John, do you want to take us on with your protagonist or your boys moment for the episode?
Well, I think it's coming to that estrangement between Hughie and Billy Butcher. I love the moment here where Hughie in that shop gets the backing from Frenchie and Mother's Milk, who kind of have been fairly quiet and kowtowing, really, I think, to Billy Butcher. But finally he gets their backing when, you know, it takes Mother's Milk actually to point it out to Billy Butcher that you know, Kimiko is one of us. You know, why are you trying to kill a brother? Yes, he's a super terrorist and he's got his reasons because he wants to get back to his own wife, Becca, and all of that. But ultimately, it comes to this moment, and I like the whole thing with Mother's Milk because, you know, Billy Butcher, he's great character. I love the way he tries to just flip it back to Mother's Milk. Well, is she more important than you getting back to see your wife and daughter? And he's like, no, but she is one of us. And I just thought that was a really great moment. And of course, we've seen through here this season so far, Hughie really at odds with Billy Butcher. Really kind of wanting to strike out, in a sense, on his own. You know, he's been trying to get Frenchie and Mother's Milk to sort of bring their A game, really, and to continue this fight against Vought. Whereas they've kind of been sat back waiting for Billy Butcher to return and be their captain. So I liked here that they kind of finally sided with Hughie as he stands up to Billy Butcher. But ultimately, Billy is still not happy. And you know, you get that right hook from him right at the end of the episode on Hughie. And if you come between me and my wife again, then I'll kill you. So there is no love lost here at all. And actually, I was just thinking back to season 1, you know, yes, Hughie followed Butcher, but Butcher was only using him anyway. So it's this relationship is massively almost non-existent. You know, it's on a thread. Absolutely. Really. So I really like that dynamic within the boys.
Yeah, absolutely. And as Hughie pointed out, he did leave them behind. He wasn't involved in that big battle that they had at the end of season 1. That was purely Mother's Milk, Frenchie, Hughie getting to the female. Like, that was the big battle that they had. And it was Starlight that came in and helped them out. Butcher was off dealing with his own stuff because that's Butcher. He's not actually a leader of this team. He wants to accomplish his goals and has kind of hired these guys to help him accomplish his goals rather than them being a team.
Definitely. This is the thing. I mean, he really is a see you next Tuesday kind of guy, really, because, you know, Butcher really, he tells them nothing other than what he needs to drip feed them. And he uses everyone. We saw that with Mallory earlier on. We see it again where ultimately, because Hughie has managed to get Frenchie and Mother's Milk on board, then he brings up Becca. To which point, you know, Mother's Milk's straight on him. Is this just one of your games to get us to come back in line kind of thing? And that's it. Billy Butcher is absolutely a one-man show. He'll tell you what he needs to tell you, when he needs to tell you, for only his reason and for no one else. Like, he is, in effect, not part of this team. It's this loose affiliation, in effect. So I mean, that may be quite obvious to some people, but it's sometimes you forget. And this really came back to put it in the spotlight for me. But yeah, good on Hughie, little old wee Hughie.
Absolutely, because it is supposed to be that, you know, Billy is supposed to be the central character of the team, I suppose, but he doesn't seem like a leader, and I'm wondering, it's the second episode we've had the question there, which feels like a kind of the season arc for Hughie. The question is there, who the hell is going to lead this team? Is it going to be you, Hughie? Are you going to be the one that leads the team? You know, and it seems really derogatory or derisory from Mother's Milk and Frenchie in the first episode, from Billy in this episode. They're all asking him the question, "Are you going to lead the team?" And you can see Hughie's looking at them, kind of going, "Well, I will." Yeah, nobody else is. Nobody else is actually coming up with plans and telling people what to do to take down the soups, which is supposed to be our purpose here. Billy just keeps telling us what he wants us to do to get his wife back, but not telling us that that's what he wanted in the first season. And now he's bringing it in at the point when we already had a plan. We already had something to do. We were already going to form together as a team to do something. And now he's coming back in and going, actually, no, I need you to do this because I want to save my wife. So Billy's not really leading the team. Is the open question here for me is, does this mean that by the end of this season, we're going to have Hughie actually stepping up to be the leader of this team, using Billy as the knife to take care of the situations, using Frenchie as bomb expert to take care of everything else, and Mother's Milk with his abilities, you know? It
could be, while Hughie doesn't know this yet, his plan with Starlight is still chugging along, and maybe this whole kind of sort of plan that he is doing might help Billy Butcher out in the end.
Yeah.
Somehow. I don't know. I can't really make any connections, but it could just be his redeeming thing in Billy's eyes is that he kicks off a whole train of things at Vought with this sample of Compound V that ultimately allows Billy Butcher back with Becca.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting. So we still need to know more about the boys back in the day. So when they were back doing their kind of Black Ops stuff with Mallory, but it's explained that Butcher was always kind of the de facto leader of the kind of, he was a colonel. He wasn't a colonel, he was a sergeant or something like that. So it will be interesting to see when we learn more about that will explain that kind of, no, boys, you do what I tell you. Like, I'm the leader of this group.
Right.
It's going to be more interesting to see how Hughie takes on that role. This is an arc from the comic books, which is very interesting. As Hughie becomes the Butcher, Butcher doesn't. Butcher lessens his role.
Yeah.
So it will be cool to see as Hughie steps up, if he does step up.
Yeah.
Because there is these amazing, there's this, as you said, there's like there's a dichotomy between the two in their styles, in how they get things done. Butcher is swear every which way, throw everything at it, guns a-blazing, kind of that Punisher style.
Yeah.
Whereas we can say Hughie's a bit more of the thinker, he wants to plan it out.
Yeah.
And we'll see, hopefully, as the boys kind of follow Butcher's plan right now, that will fall apart, and they're going to lead back on, or lean on to Hughie again.
Yeah, like I, just again reading from the show and some stuff from the comic books that I remember, the way I would see it is Mallory was the leader, Butcher reported to him, Frenchie and Mother's Milk were involved in that team. When Mallory stepped back, Butcher tried to step up to be a leader, but he's still just an explosive who wants to take out everything around him, whereas Hughie would more naturally transition into the Mallory position rather than transitioning into Butcher's position, because Butcher is do it my way or F off, basically. It feels like, I have a plan, everybody. Let's all get together, use our talents, and go and do the thing we need to accomplish. Seems like the thing this team probably needs more than Butcher going, get your weapons, we're going to go out and blow shit up. So that's the way I'd probably see it going as it goes on. But you're absolutely right, John. This is a really good point from the episode, that they are starting to bond properly as a team. Hughie, Frenchie and Mother's Milk definitely, and calling out that Kimiko is a part of that team now. Whether Billy's a part of that team.
Yeah, exactly.
Big question,
exactly.
Yeah. My big moment, or my protagonist moment for the episode, I just want to call out Becca's side of things in this episode, because she was such an unspoken character in season 1. We didn't see much about her until towards the end of the season, when we learned that she was alive and she was working with Vought in the labs, that she had Homelander's child at the end of the season. And I just wanted to kind of visit her side of it when she gets away from her son Ryan, leaving out the piano lessons, and tries to go back to Vought to kind of make them make good on the deal that she made with them, that she'd be in hiding, that Homelander would never find out about his child, and that he would be kept on a leash away from her. I really like this conversation that she has with the doctor that's in there, Dr. Park, isn't it? Is the scientist she worked with before, the person that hit her effectively, having a conversation on the phone with him, and he's kind of going, well, he's found out now, and you can't really put the stopper back in the bottle once he's found out, you know. So I guess just don't piss him off is the answer that Dr. Park gives, you know, because you know what happens when you piss Homelander off, he will kill you. So just do what he says. He'll get bored and walk away. So Becca is basically left in a place where she has nobody to rely on at all. She used to be able to feel safe for the last couple of years, effectively, while her son was growing up, knowing that she had people on her side protecting her. But now the Homelander's found out, they're just disavowing her now. It's like, that's up to you. And if you die, you die. We don't really care, kind of thing. We just want to keep Homelander.
I love that corporate is like, they thought it best just not to antagonize him, and that the best or likeliest scenario is that he'll just lose interest and fly away, I suppose.
Yeah, he'll get bored with his toys, you know. But I think if we've learned anything from season 1 with Homelander is when he gets bored of his toys, he will set them on fire and blow them up. It's not that he's just going to walk away and leave her alone. Yes, he might get bored. He might get pissed off with the situation, but he's probably going to kill her anyway. Like that's basically what they've said to her here. But I just thought seeing that part of her arc, it was just a big moment for me from the episode.
I think even just that thing right at before that conversation, as she's driving and getting to that compound fence, you know, where she is being kept. What Homelander calls it, this nice prison. You know, is she being held or protected? And I think it is obviously the protection against Homelander because he found out that she was there.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So I took it slightly differently. Some of our listeners may have read Supreme Power, which was a Max series kind of about Hyperion. And the whole thing around that was that he was an alien, but the US Army built this essentially fake town and walled it around, and it was all guarded and you couldn't get in. But inside this gated community was all these company and men and government and things, but all undercover. So they were all designed to look like a piano teacher within a community and neighbors and stuff, but they all worked for the government and they were just there to monitor this boy, this alien. I'm taking it this way, which was she's walled in. That because if you looked when she drove to the edge to the gate, the barbed wire and the other stuff was all on the other side. Right. It was facing away from her. Yeah. So she can't get out. And essentially that, like these are all Vought employees in this small town, and it's all there just to look after Homelander's son who shouldn't be alive. Yeah. Like the whole thing was you couldn't bring a soup baby to term. Yes. Yeah. Kind of organically. So this is the first, and they're like, oh, we need to study this. So they're just, like she's in, it explains so well why she was never found.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah, I'll probably give an example. More people that don't read comic books know that's the Truman Show as well, isn't it? That's the
oh yes, there you go. Yeah,
yeah. I think you're absolutely right, Chris. You know, it is even called out by Homelander later on. He specifically says to Becca, "What's going to happen when your son wants to go to a McDonald's or wants to go to a ball game, wants to go somewhere, and you have to tell him." You can't because there's a wall there and you can't get outside that wall. Yeah, basically. So, so it is definitely called that. You're absolutely right. Yeah, good point.
They'll need to call it out a bit more expressly, which I'm assuming they will.
Yeah, they will.
They will. Yeah. But it was nice that we're now those of us with the burden of knowledge and the fine eye of detail in that from season 1, we're able to go, oh, this is all making sense now, and blah 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 blah. Yeah. So this is one thing I'm just going to call out is the writing in this scene between, as you said, even John, between the Doctor and Becky on the call is just brilliant. It's so PR speak. It's just so much fun.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it really feels like, corporate have made this decision that your life is forfeit, basically. Because he found out, not by anything she did either. That's why I think it's such an interesting scene. She's like, hang on a second, you said you protect me. Now he's found me, I'm going to run away. Well, you can't run away. Now he's found me, you're going to put me in a new town and take me away and the kid away to protect us. No, we're not going to do that either. Just don't piss him off.
Yeah.
It's awful. But it's a really good scene. And again, nice to see stuff with Becca in her own right, I suppose, as a character, rather than just being the MacGuffin for Billy to run through the season with.
Definitely,
it feels like she actually got some stuff. So that was my protagonist moment for the episode. Let's get on to our antagonist moment. Let's get on to the 7. Chris, I think you've got one of my favorite moments for the episode. What's your antagonist moment for the episode?
Because of my musical tastes, I'm not going to subject anyone to my renditions of this gill-infused, slightly fishy-smelling song. No, it's the Patton Oswalt is in this. Mm-hmm. Woohoo! We got
that's what you're
Patton
saying
Oswalt
on this.
Yeah, Patton Oswalt is none other is the Gills, and he is tripping the balls with the Deep. He's not. It's just, this was brilliant. So we learned at the end of last year that Patton Oswalt would be in season 2. And he is kind of reprising his voiceover role from, if any of our listeners have heard of Happy, another comic book adaptation, where in Happy, he is a voiced over animated imaginary unicorn, imaginary friend. In this, he is an amorphic speaking set of gills.
I'm telling you, man. Patton Oswalt must spend more time in front of a microphone than we do. He does the voiceover on so many shows. He's been involved in so many things. I love his voice. I absolutely love it. But he's so recognizable. The minute you hear it, two of us were watching it, going, "Who's that? Oh, Patton Oswalt. He's here."
So,
but they got him to sing in this, which is great. We got the "You Are So Beautiful to Me" a duet between the Deep and his own gills, which is hilarious.
I love that it opens up with him saying, "Bro, we've got to talk." Love this. I really like the Deep. I think he's just so well done, and having Patton Oswalt as his gills that have come to speak to him and sing to him and inspire him, provide him with therapy, probably slightly better than Carol, if I'm being honest.
Carol's not a therapist.
Then this was awesome. And even just he uses his first name. He goes, Kevin. I love that.
Get it together.
Really, really like it. And the Goo Goo Dolls were playing as well and I love that track.
I thought you would. Yeah.
Iris?
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Absolutely love that track. And just seeing.
I know they have another one. I know they have another track, but Iris is the track
that is the big one. And just having the Deep kind of singing along, and he's like, "Eagle, is that you?" kind of at the door, and then it's like just the way he opens up his top, and he's like and closes it back again. Yeah. So good, love it.
Yeah, this for me was just brilliant. I hope that for whatever reason he continues his special magical trip and we get Patton Oswalt throughout this season. I do not think it will be the case. I think it's one and done.
Yeah.
But for me, this was just the brilliant. This whole thing where the Deep is going on a journey, a magical mushroom journey. It's great. And it's going to be interesting to see now that he's had this heart to heart or gill to gill with his gills, where now that will he join their version of the Scientology to return to the 7?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, there was an interesting thing that Carol said there when the Deep kind of says, "Carol, if I'm being honest, I don't know what you want from me," and she goes over to the Eagle who comes in, and then the Eagle makes up his mushroom tea, the hallucinogenic tea. But she just says, "There isn't a path here." which I thought was kind of interesting. Just the way she kind of delivered it. It's like, maybe it's that spiritual path that she's talking about with regards to the Scientology movement that she runs, or is it this path to some kind of influence and control of the Seven at Vought, which I presume it must be.
I think both of those things are the same thing.
Well, okay, maybe.
Yeah.
And
not to completely disparage Scientology, but that's effectively the path to controlling Hollywood is through Scientology, it seems, as well. So I think that's the reference that they're using.
Yeah, and just the the Eagle is a disgruntled employee of Vought who hasn't maybe made the Seven like he thought he might do.
Perhaps.
Because he's just got bow and arrow.
Or else he feels completely convinced in this
possibly
religion as well, because you don't know for definite that he's working with Carol for exactly the same reasons that she may have. We don't know yet. So, yeah.
I do really, really hope that they have their version of I was going to say Elon Musk, but it's not. It's L. Ron Hubbard. Their version of the supreme leader who is going to who believes in what is Zion and all these aliens. I want to see their interpretation of what Scientology's background and beliefs are, because I think Eric Kripke is just. Well, and his writing staff and the rest of the writer's room will just be, it will be just cynical enough that it's going to be bloody hilarious.
Yeah,
definitely.
I think they'll have enough creativity to make sure that it doesn't look exactly like Scientology, but it'll be analogous to it.
If they can take on full Christianity in season 1, then, and evangelical Christianity, well, then certainly Scientology is going to be like a flick of the fingers.
It'll be easy.
Oh my god! Do you think they'll do like the Spaghetti Monster, like the Church of Spaghetti Monster, or
they probably will.
There is a Church of Spaghetti alien god, or so. I know that this is a thing because they wear a colander on their head. Okay. I've seen this, and it's a real religion. And
this is like the tin foil hat brigade or something like that. Oh my goodness.
Something, but it's so funny. It's just, and like some of the members are just doing it for the sake of taking the piss.
Oh, absolutely.
Other ones are just like actually real, and they're like, yeah, I'm part of the pasta church. Anyway, check it out. I think it's Spaghetti Monster Church.
Okay. That sounds like a very weird way to end this point about the deep. Thanks, Chris.
I think we're on hallucinogenic tea as well, to be honest.
Sorry, I meant to bring up water. I might have put a mushroom into it. Apologies. Yes, but he does have the revelation as well that the reason why he treats women so badly is because he can't accept his own body, which is the big kind of revelation moment that he has.
That is true. Yeah. Melissa Dubowski was more than just another finger bang.
God.
That's what his skills say.
I will close this out. That is the flying Spaghetti Monster religion, also known as Pastafarianism. So there you go. We will maybe the deep will become a Pastafarian, not a Rastafarian, a Pastafarian. But he may go from mushrooms to other types of herbs and spices. So
the amount of drugs that must have been consumed to come up with that religion is phenomenal.
But maybe it's a lot of compound V.
See what happens, fellow boys and girls. I give a perfect out to both of the guys to get us on to our next point, and Chris is actually just searching on the internet to bring us back to the point I got us out of. So I'll just jump on to the next one. You go check out Pastafarians on your own time.
So, John, do you want to tell us, because Derek will kill me very soon, what's your 7 moment?
So dare I say it, bringing it back down to earth is fatherhood. with Homelander looking to connect in with his son Ryan. What a raging disappointment his son Ryan must be at some level with Homelander, as he can't even throw a fastball. He's been brought up with a sense of normality and a regular day-to-day upbringing, and of course Homelander wants him to be, breaking the sound barrier like he did when he was growing up at that age. And I just thought this was absolutely so well done again, with this kind of look of disappointment on Homelander's face. Yet at the same time, he absolutely, now that he knows about his son, wants to connect in there. And even him giving his son a mobile so that they can connect, that they can text and call one another. And
God, that was so sad.
It really was.
And Ryan goes, well, I don't know who to call. I don't have any friends.
But it was
call me.
Yeah, okay. Exactly. At every stage, he's got to kind of sort of bring Ryan along and say, well, you can call me. And then he says, I love you, son. And he's like, this is where you say, I love you, Dad, back, kind of thing. And it's just so awkward.
Ryan looks terrified throughout this whole thing.
He really does.
He's clearly been warned that, again, don't piss this guy off or you could lose your face as he melts it with his eyeballs,
But in fairness, it's like he has just had that conversation, the quote that's opened up the podcast about, it's hard being superior to every other being on the planet.
Yeah.
I would say that I've come across a few people who aren't superheroes who have that view of themselves, and it's kind of like, and then it's like, you and me are gods, and he's probably like going, I've just come from piano practice. Yeah. I'm about to start my maths homework, and my mum's going to be like tucking me in bed in a minute. Mm-hmm. What are you drinking, Homelander, or smoking? Yeah, and it's, absolutely. I just love this sense of him trying to connect and feel his way, and his son just really not knowing what the hell is going on and not really knowing how to connect in with him, which obviously shows that he is Homelander's son, because Homelander basically has social awkwardness himself.
He certainly does,
like big time.
Very different reasons. Yeah. He has social awkwardness because he had no parents.
This
and he
could
killed
be
anybody that tried to come anywhere near him. He just killed when he got bored.
This could be the genesis of it, because he does say, "My dad never played ball with me," and in effect, Ryan hasn't had that either up till now. He's had no father, so but I just really enjoyed this, and again, just what Anthony Starr brings to that sense of menace, even when he's speaking with Ryan. That whole thing in the bedroom where I suppose Ryan isn't reacting to him the way he probably would expect him to say, I love you, Dad, or, oh, great, thanks for the mobile.
Yeah.
And you just, okay, has he got any shred of morals or whatever? And I suppose as well, just because of the menace towards Becca, it's all kind of bound up,
Yeah.
Because he's seen that she's still got these photos of Billy Butcher, and I think because she's still got feelings for him, she makes that deal to protect Billy Butcher, that you can see your kid and don't kill Billy Butcher, just drop him off, and so just the sense of threat with Becca, it's just all there. Absolutely. In that house with Becca, Ryan, and Homelander, and that menace and that pressure to do what he wants. And Becca knows this. Ryan hasn't really got that yet. It's totally threatening, but it's massively passive aggressive from Homelander.
I think he certainly doesn't understand why a superhero walked into his house and said, I'm your dad. Definitely doesn't understand that. I'm going to phrase my opinion about this in the form of a question. So what is Homelander going to do when he finds out that Ryan has absolutely zero superpowers? That's my opinion about it. It just feels like, he came to term as a child of a superhero or of a Vought experiment. He's lived this long and hasn't accidentally thrown a baseball 2 miles down the road by mistake, He's gotten to this age that hasn't happened. Are we going to the destiny that is Ryan is just absolutely as normal as everybody else, or Ryan actually is Billy Butcher's son, but Billy didn't see it in his eyes because Homelander's the one that brought him there, said, this is my son, and Billy went, okay, that's Homelander's son. I don't know. It just feels a little bit like the pressure that's there of I'm a god and so are you, son. And Ryan going, what the hell is this guy talking about?
Exactly.
Feels like maybe this kid has no powers.
But his eyes lit up, unless that's his power. That he just has red eye.
Yeah, he could be able to look in the basement without turning on the light. That could be his power. You know?
Yeah, the way I see it is he's going to have no powers until like the final episode,
Right?
Or this kind of the last two, as we kind of start to wrap things up. That Homelander's going to go after Becky, or Becca, excuse me, and what will happen is the son will step in.
Mm-hmm.
We can assume that throughout this kind of season, especially with throwing the ball, that game of catch, that Homelander's going to continue to test him, and at a certain point will become really frustrated that he has no powers, and Becca's going to like want to escape or stand up to Homelander. Homelander is going to potentially hurt her or start to, and that's where it will kind of net out that he stops him.
Yeah.
The way I envision this is Butcher's going to break in. Butcher's going to try and save Becca. Homelander's going to go after the two of them. Up until that point, the son has no powers. It's going to be very bloody. And then at the last minute, the son's going to step in. So either, like, probably Homelander's going to burn one or two of them alive with his eyes. Okay. And then out of nowhere, literally he gets thrown across the room or he gets burnt himself or something. And you're going to see the son in the corner.
There you go, listeners. That's a patented Chris Jones prediction for the season.
But it's a good one, though.
It is. I
enjoy that.
I get that. I get that for sure.
Yeah. Good plan. Anything else on the father-son relationship there with Ryan and Homelander? One thing we didn't mention, actually, we noticed this the second time we watched the episode. Did you notice this, Chris? Homelander calls back to Becca the words that she said to Dr. Park. Miles away from the house. He calls back to her that I'm not going to give up like they say that you are. I'm not going to get bored. So to my mind, I was going, oh, hang on a second. Homelander has significantly bigger powers than we thought he did. He can. I know we saw it in season 1. He can listen to specific things across the entire city. So he uses that power to have to eavesdrop on everything that Becca's doing. So I just thought that was interesting to note.
I took it as I remember that power. I actually didn't take it as his power. I took it that they reported back to him already. So, like, I'm taking it that, like, Vought have already went, so, hey, Becca was out with us. Don't worry, we're not going to remove it. Like, this is your son. We're staying on your side. But your thing makes more sense.
Yeah, it's because what he actually says back to her is, I'm not going to get bored like they said I would. Yeah. You tell them that I'm going to stay here.
Yeah, and he's derogatory about the doctor who was on the phone to her.
Exactly.
Says you can go screaming to him if you want, but I'm not.
Yeah, that makes more
bored.
Sense. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense in terms of. Yeah. No. Okay. Cool. No, didn't catch that.
There you go. That's just one that I just wanted to call out there because I just thought it was interesting seeing another Homelander power, because he does seem to have every power possible in his body. Was he just given like 7,000 doses of V when he was in utero? And that's why he has all the powers. Interesting one there. My antagonist moment for the episode, I just wanted to call out Stormfront because I absolutely love Stormfront in this episode. She's got such a can't give a shite attitude. She doesn't care what happens. I love the PR meeting, the in front of the repeated media outlets who are asking the same question over and over again. I love how she scoffs because beside her, every single question that seems to be being asked of Starlight is, are you single? Are you single? Are you single? Are you single? And she has to come up with different words because she's speaking to different media outlets, because that's what Starlight's used to. You see her on her own doing her PR moment earlier on in the episode where she's announcing the arrival of Stormfront, but she has to say it in different words for every radio station across the country, every TV station across the country. You know, that's what she's good at. But what Stormfront's good at is telling it like it is.
She really
good fun. I love her comment about when her phone rings and she goes, who cares about the rights of superheroes or whether boys are better than girls as superheroes? We just want pockets. Can somebody just get us pockets? Excellent stuff.
That really, was really awesome. Fun. I love that she calls Ashley Ashy, where she's basically gone, dicks and chicks are in this together, and you see Ashley's face behind camera where it's like, no, that's not on the script.
Yeah.
She's like, calm down, Ashy. I thought that was just really, really nice.
It pretty much looked like Derek's face as you just said that line.
I know,
I'm pretty
exactly.
sure. So I was like, oh no, you're going off script. You can't say that.
And she also, I think she's got this kind of little, slight soft spot for Ashley, because I think she knows that she can like rip the piss out of her so easily. She's just like, if she vibrates any faster, that stick up her ass will explode. It's just the way she like delivers them. It's really funny. They must have so much fun writing all of these different things down. What they can come up with, really creative.
I'm so looking forward. Do you remember we got the bloopers outtake after the whole season of one had aired? I can't wait to see the outtakes and the kind of bloopers for season 2. Just because there's going to be so many of these Stormfront moments where they're like, all right, just ad-lib. Be that Queen Bee. And just kind of like, oh, it's going to be good.
Yeah. Also good in the episode learning Stormfront's inspiration. I thought that was really good fun. That her inspiration, her greatest superhero is Pippi Longstocking, because she didn't give a shit about what anybody said to her. I think that's absolutely hilarious, Yeah. And I love that she even calls out, that Starlight is such a PR machine, so bound by PR now that effectively when asked who's the greatest superhero, her response is Homelander. She just looks at her going, how useless are you?
I know.
It's not, I don't mean someone in this building that can hear you. I'm asking a real question here, Just thought that was really good fun.
I love when Starlight's coming to her, because you kind of get that sense of Starlight as well from season 1 a bit, wanting to be her own person, and then suddenly getting consumed by the corporate machine. And she comes over to Stormfront saying, I really like in what you're saying, that's exactly what I think. And she goes, are you a Vought spy Barbie? Are you wearing a wire? And then the line that just made me crack up every time, and what I said at the start of the podcast, you're the Voughtiest Vought in all of Vought. I just thought that was hilarious. You're so Vought. She would be the one wearing the Disney slut outfits, I suppose. Exactly. On Halloween, that's not the Pippi Longstocking.
Yeah, that's exactly the gag from Stormfront, isn't it? But I suppose the entire point, and we mentioned it last episode, this is the cool thing about Starlight's story for this season. She's undercover here, so she has to be the Voughtiest Vought that ever Vought to cover the fact that she's stealing Compound V from the company. So yeah, so it's really important that she's beyond reproach. So that's why she's,
absolutely.
Even when Ashley's asking her, do you want to take a break and go and get some water before you do the next 1,000 reads of that exact thing you've just read 1,000 times before? And she's like, no, let's just keep going.
She is a good Two-Face.
She's got a good cover, definitely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. She's able to switch it on for Vought, and she's still in there doing the Hughie thing with the boys.
Exactly.
I love Stormfront in this, but I get the feeling that they're setting you up to really like this character and then hate this character by the end.
Of course.
They are building this, she's the friendly front one. It's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then we're going to turn around and again, burden of knowledge on the character. I'm like, this is a bad character. When are they going to flip the coin? When are they going to burn the other side of the pancake? It's going to be interesting.
Never heard that phrase.
Chris Jones with really bad analogies.
I love that. I've never heard that phrase. When do they burn the other side of the pancake? There you go.
Yeah.
The one thing I will kind of give an insight to, and this is pulling back the screen on our podcast. We were pulling our notes together, and one thing that keeps making me chuckle is Google autocorrect as I'm typing Stormfront into our doc on my phone goes Storefront.
Oh, always.
So, always. So every time I'm writing Stormfront, it's coming in as Storefront. It's autocorrecting for me. So I can't wait until more and more people on Twitter start kind of tweeting about Stormfront and just autocorrects. The amount of Storefront is the best Stormfront. It's just going to be hilarious.
And Chris, are you the googliest Google in all of Google?
I have no idea what you mean. Are you wearing a wire?
No. Oh, just a wired bra.
See, I'm not even sure where you'd hide a wire in that outfit anyway.
I'm going to leave this section with just my favourite line from Stormfront for the episode, which was Pippi Longstocking would have bitten a D. Yeah, there you go.
So that does bring up a question, though. How does she know about the biting of a D?
Every single person in America knows about Starlight and the Deep because of the apology on TV. You remember in season 1?
Yes, I remember that now. I was taking it as a different. Oh my god! I've actually just pulled in a different scene from the comic books into my head and imagined that was in season 1. Okay, doesn't matter. Okay, moving swiftly on.
Well, there you go. Once again, I didn't mean to beg a question by my ending of this section. Let's get on to the next section, our final section. Other outstanding moments from the episode. What else have we not talked about, Chris, or anything that you want to bring up that we haven't talked about?
I'll just very quickly. My bit is girls get it done.
Right.
This was just the tagline, the consistency of the marketing. I'm going to give a huge shout out to the set designers and the creative director, the visual director, for the choice of props and the backgrounds and the cut-ins of everything about girls get it done, girls get it done, girls get it done. And it's exactly the most corporate of I've ever seen, and it's just because they're taking the mick out so much out of kind of that very corporate PR'd message, brand message that they're like, we're gonna run this one, we're gonna get you say this, and this is how you're gonna say it, and like here's up until this point before girls get it done, it was Citizen Starlight, and you saw her kind of very much looking like a perfume ad as she lounged across a kind of long billboard. And now it's suddenly changed to the 3 girls of the actual 7, but in heroic poses and things like that. And it's just it's so perfect. It's just,
Absolutely. And what's even more perfect about it, because this, if you've ever worked in PR or ever been involved in any kind of launch of anything, exactly what happens here is what happens at every PR event. Just before going out and doing their big promotional day, one of them goes, I've got a family emergency, off I go. And then suddenly it's like, oh, get a chair out of there. We lost one of them, says Ashley. It's just like as if someone's gone off wandering like children, in her little PR mind. Also, could be that another little insight. We were hoping to get some interviews with the cast over the course of their PR tour. It couldn't organise it, unfortunately. But after this episode, I'm really glad we didn't get the opportunity to interview any of the cast, because that media moment when Starlight and Stormfront are getting asked the same questions over and over again, I absolutely know that that's exactly what it's like when they're getting interviewed by podcasts, when they're getting interviewed by all of the websites and all of the newspapers around the world, because this is being released globally, remember, and they're all being asked the same question over and over again. I didn't want to be one of those sites, so I'm glad we couldn't organise it.
We would never be one of those sites. No, we're too Irish and too jaunty. We would have made fun and light, and it would have been, we're more the Aisha Tyler of the kind of interviewers versus the kind of Empire or IGNs. Not saying that they're bad, but they're have more stock standard questions versus if you were a soup, what would your power be? Versus kind of like, all right, so you're going to get really drunk in one of these scenes. Like, what's your favorite drink? And like, why? And if you come to Ireland, are you more of a pub person, nightclub person? So
I stay indoors for 7 months person, like the rest of us are now. Yes, no, I didn't really mean the big outlets. I definitely meant the smaller outfits that ask the same template 7 questions that they ask. So I'm glad we weren't going to give them those same template questions. Speaking of Aisha Taylor, definitely want to plug the behind the scenes show for the boys, half-hour episode. Watch the first one on season 1, and she absolutely takes it there. She says herself, I will not be outdone with how explicit the show is in comparison to how explicit the questions that she can ask are. So definitely check that out. It's on Amazon Prime now.
And YouTube. It's available also on YouTube.
Oh, cool.
I will say they open with the C word, and I was very happy with that.
Of course they do.
Yeah.
Of course they do. That's it for your point on Girls Get It Done, Chris?
That is it.
That wasn't a question, apparently. I phrased that like a statement. So I'll just go, John, what's your outstanding moment for the episode?
Yeah, my outstanding moment is, I won't tell if you don't. The Starlight and A-Train come to a mutual understanding. And I suppose in this, that Starlight really does kind of retell the horror of Popclaw's death, and what A-Train did to her, effectively overdosing her with drugs. Yeah. And I kind of just like how this built as well over the course of the episode, from the surprise return of A-Train at the PR event to the kind of buffet thing afterwards, where like he's constantly zooming up to her. What's in your boot? Who are you texting when she's back at her apartment, when she's on her burn phone to Hughie? I just kind of really like this, the awkward moments between Starlight and A-Train here, where he goes, how does everyone feel about you helping your traitor boyfriend to escape? After she's trying to say, they're trying to create their narrative. I suppose a day of PR will probably make you do that. But it's certainly, I just liked how this tension between the two built to that moment where I felt she was channeling, the sort of the final kind of words that Stormfront had mentioned to her about, where she says, drop the mask, it allows you to breathe once in a while, which is not a COVID reference. And I like that moment where they just come to that tense agreement that neither of them, at least at this stage, will say anything. And I like how Starlight kind of takes that to A-Train, because he was like a nightmare in season 1. Absolutely. And you can see you could see him almost with great pleasure saying, I can't wait to see the skin being peeled off your back and by face. And body by Homelander. Yeah. So I really kind of liked this whole kind of moment.
Yeah. So Starlight recognizes this just a threat from A-Train, doesn't he? Doesn't she? That's the moment, isn't it? That's why she stands up to him, because she says to him, if you were going to tell anybody, you already would, and I would already be dead. So you're not going to tell anybody. You're just trying to hold this over me. You're just trying to get me to do whatever you want me to do, basically, and be on your side. He's kind of well known throughout season 1 of having nobody on his side and just being effectively could be replaced at any time. That's why he goes down the path of being so addicted to V that he's using it all the time to keep his power going over and over again. So it feels like he's almost just trying to get Starlight to be in his corner almost, or at least do whatever he wants her to do, so he can feel like he's leading somebody, or someone's going to be by his side, I suppose, in some sense. So great scene though. Really, really enjoyed it. And I was wondering why he was so pressured in everything that he's doing. He arrives exactly at the moment that she's getting the V from Gecko. He arrives exactly at the moment that he's texting, so he's watching her constantly as well. So really, really good scene there.
Yeah, no, I loved it. I did think it was going to become a superpowered battle for a second.
Yeah,
I was expecting another flare up of like him rushing around, her eyes going wide, or like kind of her hands glowing a bit. Because it sounds silly when I say that. Her eyes going white or her hands glowing a bit. But her power, obviously, like she'd try and burn him or maybe set fire. I was expecting a bit of, it was nice to see that he backed down. This is only the beginning, though. I am expecting that battle will happen very soon.
Yeah, there may be a retread of that battle, or something else might happen to A-Train, unfortunately, or to Starlight. You never know. That just leaves me with my other outstanding moment in the episode. Just want to call out again. It's just another moment that I thought was really good. Seeing Queen Maeve back with her ex Elena. We see that she's kind of still the kind of next of kin, I suppose, for Elena from her workplace. That's why she's called when Elena has a medical problem and she sits in hospital with her for the day. But that's kind of always been Elena's problem with their relationship, is that it's kept silent. That there's no visible relationship between the two of them to the outside world. It's only when they're at home together, the two of them, that they can actually be themselves. Elena wants more. Elena wants to go out to dinner. She can never do that with Queen Maeve. She can only do that with the alter ego, effectively. I think she even mentions that it's her alter ego. Her name is what appears on the next of kin sheets at her work. So there's still no connection anywhere in the world. But what's revealed here is that Queen Maeve is completely living in fear. Like anybody that's ahead of an organization that gives them anything they want and covers up any bad deeds that they do, or anybody that's, leader of a country that does any bad deeds and they get covered up. Like anybody like that, the power has completely gone to Homelander's head. Queen Maeve tells the story of a producer who was trying to seduce her, back at an event in Hollywood for the release of one of the movies. And next day, he was found in a burnt out office with his head in one room and his body in another. That was absolutely Homelander that did it. So if Homelander will do that to somebody that'll just chat her up, what would he do to her actual partner that she's been hiding from him? So she doesn't want Elena to die. And I really like these scenes. I really like that extra layer again to Queen Maeve's character. We saw a little bit in season 1 about her, turning to drink because she feels the pressure of being stuck around Homelander, this guy that's done so many bad things. But she even calls out here, it's not just the bad things he did, it's the bad things he's made me watch and the bad things that I did as well. So, that he made me do effectively. So yeah, just thought it was good here, seeing their relationship properly on screen.
Just a question, before you end, because I'm not going to let you end. The producer was a Harvey Weinstein bit.
Reference, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I took it as kind of like, hey, like an overly friendly, kind of producer who keeps stroking the leg and chatting up a kind of star.
Maybe. I kind of take it that Harvey Weinstein wasn't the only one in Hollywood.
Oh, cool. Yeah. It was a kind of, okay, I got it. Yeah. More, a reference in general.
Yeah, I think it was a reference in general because I feel like she actually felt sorry for the producer that lost his head and his office got burnt down because he came on to her. Yeah. Rather than him doing the kind of things that Harvey Weinstein did to the women.
Yeah.
She
mentioned that he was chatting her up all through the screening and then was going to invite her out to dinner.
Yeah. It felt more like all he'd done was just sat down beside her. That's all he'd done, kind of thing. She was going, obviously, she had no interest, but she doesn't feel bad that this guy was chatting her up. That's just a thing. But even just with that little infraction, that means he's dead at Homelander's hands, kind of thing. So that's the way I read it anyway. But I understand. That's it for our main points for the episode. A couple of notes for the episode. I've just got a big one because I am an absolutely massive Prince fan. As you guys know, I know Prince is probably my favorite artist of all time. And there's a moment in here with A-Train when he's at his return party where he's sitting with the Cloud guitar. The Cloud guitar is the most famous guitar that Prince ever played. He played it in the movie Purple Rain. It was on the cover of Around the World in a Day, his sequel album or his follow-up album to Purple Rain. All Prince fans know the name of the guitar because it's that famous. And it also, the original from Purple Rain, sits in the Smithsonian in America. That's how well known or how big a guitar it is. And A-Train basically is sitting in his room playing at this party with this guitar in hand playing it. So if you know the background to it, that it's sitting in the Smithsonian, effectively what A-Train's saying is, I got out of my coma and went, I want that, and walked into the Smithsonian and took the original guitar. Because he says this is the guitar that Prince played in Purple Rain. This is basically another one of the moments where you see A-Train is also a member of the Seven who wants something and goes and gets it effectively. So this isn't a replica. This isn't that somebody gifted it to him. This is something that he effectively just took from the Smithsonian because he feels entitled to it. So that's something I thought was really cool. As a Prince fan, I would love to have that guitar on my wall, even though, just like A-Train, I can't play a note.
That was the bit I found funny. Can you play? No?
Not at all. This is Prince's guitar now.
All right.
I have touched the guitar of greatness. That's the one. One for you, John, to mention as well. The actor who plays Gecko in this episode and the last episode. You may recognize him as the actor who played Scarecrow, Jonathan Crane, on Gotham for the last couple of seasons. He took over from Charlie Tahan, who played Jonathan Crane in the first couple of seasons of Gotham, when Charlie Tahan moved over to Ozark, where we've seen him for the last for 3 full seasons of that show.
Yes.
But yes, he's the actor that played the final version of the Scarecrow in Gotham.
Excellent stuff.
Featured quite heavily in season 5 and 6.
And he gives a little kind of threat to Starlight that if she asks him again, he's going to tell them. And she kind of uses that then on A-Train as well. That kind of same threat as well.
Yeah.
But I like Gecko as a character. I hope he kind of stays sort of throughout this season just to see what he can do. Yeah. Because he's there with an eye patch where they've been testing out, I think, different chemicals in his eyes.
Shampoo.
To make sure that it doesn't burn eyes. So they burnt his eye out.
So they burnt his eye out, yes. Yeah. He is basically a test rabbit.
Exactly. Is that it? Anybody else have notes? Sorry, those are my 2 notes. Anybody else have any notes before we go on?
No massive notes.
The only one I've got is just that obviously we see Billy Butcher with this piece of paper with loads of crayon writing on it, and that's from the diner that he's kind of dropped off at by Homelander after the end of season 1, after they've been at Becky and Ryan's house, and that's all his memories effectively of what he can recall about the house. So it's like it was yellow and all these different things.
The sun was at 60 degrees at this time of the day.
So he's really just, this is his kind of, precious manuscript now as he tries to find his way back to Becca.
Absolutely. Hopefully Mallory's going to help him out with that and decipher the clues that he's written down if he brings in the brother of Kimiko. Yeah. Chris, anything for us in Chris's Corner for episode 2?
Yes, so welcome to Chris's Corner, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, roll up. I'm about to go deep in the source material of The Boys. Now, please note, anything I say here probably will not happen because they've already veered off from the comic books. But it may do so, spoiler warning for the next 3 minutes, just in case. Basically, I'm going to go into the female, because we have seen that the female of the species is more deadlier than the male. But more importantly, the female of the species, Kimiko, is different from the comic books. They have altered her origin story, kept some parts the same, but have altered her origin story.
Okay.
So I'll go quickly through the comic book origin, and you'll understand why there are some differences. So basically, up first is that the female is the female of the species. That is where she got her name, and it comes from Frenchie. She is one of the later members of the Boys, kind of only being the person really after that was Hughie. But she's one of the first seen in that comes up in issue 2, I believe. Her first appearance is issue 2 of The Boys, the comic book, so we see her from there. She's selectively mute in the comic book, so she can talk and she just chooses not to. But she is the muscle of the group the same way that she is in this. That she's a bit more violent. It's not until issue 38 that we actually get her origin. And this is a fun one, so I'll kind of go with me here. So she's born in Japan to a single mother who works at the Japanese version of Vought. So it's essentially they have their version of Compound V, and they're doing that. Her mother is a secretary who works at a desk in this company and is seen and called out as being too cheap to hire a babysitter or childcare. So she brings her daughter with her, and the child lives in the desk drawer or under the desk, and is kind of always there. Her mother goes out for a coffee break in the room, and the female, as a child baby, goes crawling and crawls into the air duct and goes all the way into the test labs, where she falls into a big old vat of Compound B.
Nice, like the Joker.
Yeah. It gives her all her powers, but also this urge to kill.
Right.
So you get these amazing scenes where, like, there's all these kind of scientists running into the room, and there's just a baby on the ground, and then you get cut back to all these dead bodies and a baby sitting in the middle of the floor. It's really cool. They keep her imprisoned for years and essentially keep trying to extract her blood to basically try and replicate the success they've had with this, because they could not get their version of Compound V to work. She tries to escape for years and years and years, but then in the comic book, she's kind of rescued by Butcher and the rest of the boys, and she's recruited there. And yeah, that's it. She's never named as Kimiko. Kimiko is a name for the TV show.
Right.
She's just only known as the female, and she only speaks, if I remember correctly, once at right at the end.
Right.
And I'll give this one line away.
Don't do it.
No, but it's nice, and it kind of plays into the character here. What I remember her just saying, the one line is, "I hate mean people." That's it. And then you're just like, yeah, that was worth it. That was worth it. Relevant here is kind of just in terms of a really good one if you're kind of reading away. In issue 31, she has a epic battle with Stormfront, where she actually rips out one of his eyes with her bare hands. So I'm kind of hoping we get a recurrence of that, because it is really cool, and I can see it kind of playing well in towards the end of the season. But yeah, there you go. So female of the species.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Chris. Good to be back on Chris's Corner again this week.
Yeah, absolutely.
This time.
Quick question. Does
Hit me.
the female and Frenchie have a thing going on in the comics like they do?
No.
No.
It's more of a brother-sister relationship
Okay.
in the comic books. And it's a initial that he kind of, the Frenchman, his kind of family, we went through his origin last season. It's kind of like he has no family, so he kind of adopts her into this as a sense. She doesn't have a brother, or she has no family in the comic books.
Right.
So the brother Mouse is a kind of bit. The Shining Light Liberation Army is a thing for the TV show.
Right.
That I remember. I don't remember a terrorist group that had any. Well, there's none that had a connection to her. I would say.
Right.
I do wonder if they have a thing in this. Is it more that they're going to be, now that Mouse is going to be captured, Frenchie will become a surrogate brother, big brother?
To both, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Maybe we'll just have to see. We will obviously discuss more of The Boys on episode 3, which we're releasing over this weekend. We'd love to hear your thoughts about the first 3 episodes. Email us to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com with your thoughts about any of the 3 episodes. We'll talk about them on the next episode. And then if we haven't got them in before we record episode 3, we'll talk about them on episode 4. But overall, guys, what did you think of the second episode of season 2 of The Boys? Proper preparation and planning. Chris?
I absolutely loved it. I'm so happy, as I said in episode 1 review, happy to be back with the boys and the female. The storyline is zigging and zagging, or also going straight.
Yeah.
That's a callback to the previous episode. See what I'm doing there? Hey. It's good. It's fun. It's irreverent, but at the same time being very smart. If you were eagle-eyed viewer of season 1, you're catching references and things like that. But at the same time, you don't have to be. Because I can see some people may have jumped into season 2. I know I have no idea why you would do that, but I know some people do. So they're giving enough that it's still a compelling story, kind of bringing you along on this journey. I'm interested to see where they go with this whole terrorist, supervillain kind of storyline, because I think that should play out more. I'm also very interested when they're going to flip the pancake onto the burnt side, as I use that analogy, for Stormfront. Or Storefront.
Right.
And kind of show her evil side. So that'd be interesting. But overall, really loved it. Really enjoying what I'm doing. Can't wait to go on to episode 3.
Excellent. The pace of this show, even in season 1, with just 8 episodes to tell its story, seems so much faster than almost every show that we've covered. And this episode's no joke. Really gives so much for every character, and we see, the thread of what could be happening here with Billy Butcher and what he's going to be going after for the rest of the season, and everything else going on around both sides on the Seven and the Boys side. There's so much detail being given in just 2 episodes so far. So excited to see the